Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for November 29th, 2021. We're here on Cathy's website, CathyDSlaght.com, and I will scroll down, and we're looking for the Zoom banner to join the SRC4u Zoom call. If you'd like to be part of Cathy's SRC4u Daily Energy Clearing Group, all the information is right here. Just click through. We're going to go over to the Zoom call and join the Zoom platform. And here we are on the Zoom platform, where once I accept, the call will be live. So please monitor your speakers.
Okay, well, here we are at 10. Just a few things over the weekend. Had a little extra time since we didn't have our Zooms, which I missed talking to y'all. Let's just add this up. One of the things, and you may be aware of this, but they're talking about antibody-dependent enhancement and some stress related to that, which seems to be coming up related to these vaccines. So here's a new code for those who are interested. Then we had over the weekend a little girl with RSV. And you talk about synchronicity. It just so happened someone had sent me a bunch of information on it and wanted me to look up codes. So this is a new cocktail if you choose to load it. Are you all familiar with the respiratory virus? Anybody? A lot of the COVID diagnosis, they say it's not COVID, it's this. It's this respiratory virus, and it's also very serious. But so this is a cocktail, and I will say that we worked on this little girl, and working first just with infection, etc., didn't seem to do much. But when we did this cocktail, whether, that's the problem with energy work. You don't know if the work did it or if they were recovering anyway, but there was a big change. Also, here are some cell salts tied into this. There was only one code, but you've got this information. Here are a few homeopathic remedies. Again, only a few codes. And I waited. I did this Friday, and I'm still looking for more codes. They haven't come up. And then this was interesting. Some symptoms of this RSV, and there was a 97% benefit of putting them in the Gong. It was wild. And so that Gong and the Shen too, I think, can be a lot more powerful than we realize. So these are some symptoms. Then I told you we were going to get into this spiritual stuff, which we will do. But let's go first into the other material. No, I guess that is it. Okay.
And if I could...
We have a new scan. I made a little bit longer scan for the group work, and I want to show you what came up as our priorities. The book I'm reading that I was talking about discusses certain entity involvement that actually goes in the bloodline. And so something comes up, it may not be you personally demonstrating it, could be in your bloodline. Our very top thing, uprooting the altar of your mother's house, means things that passed down your mother's bloodline. And second was fathers. Now we do want to add our crystals. We want to do some custom Shen and Gong. Now here's another altar, the altar of suicide. You're going to see, if you add these to your scan, a lot of information on it, but it doesn't always mean you need to have anything more than the awareness of the possibility. You want to add our vehicle. Then this came up, uprooting the altar of marital unfaithfulness. We want our home in, uprooting the altar of pride. We wanted the Grabavoy, and then the preset cocktail. So just to give you an example here.
In running all your scans, do you ever come up with anything related to radiation poisoning?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Jennifer Van Allen speaks about as they boost up that next elevation of the cell tower stuff. She says that we're experiencing radiation poisoning.
Well, I think it depends on the person. Again, it's kind of like the vaccination. All of us have a different level of sensitivity. The higher your voltage, the more you're equipped to take care of that, I believe. Not that you want to do normal common things. What's that?
You agree with that, the higher your voltage.
Yeah. I think you have to be aware of it. I mean, you can have real high voltage and step in front of a truck and you're not going to have much luck. So, you've got to take it into consideration to do some things to protect yourself as well. But as far as the radiation, it's a concern. And environmentally, I did a post. There is a new post up. It went up last night on the site. And there's a whole bunch of codes in there if you get a chance to look at it. But the post is about our thoughts and the fact that it all boils down to, we think we have free will, but what happens is our thoughts can easily be manipulated. And so could radiation manipulate your thoughts? Of course. Could chemtrails? Could a lot of processed food, etc.? Could other people go on, with all these thoughts? And yes. So you do need to be aware of it, and there are some new codes in that post that can perhaps balance some of that out, because we're equipped, I believe, to create miracles. But we have to understand a little bit more than we have been led to understand. Now, I'll just go in order. I'm kind of out of order as how I intended to go. But what I've been doing with these, when these altars come up, because this is, almost fractal fairy tale stuff. But many of your esoteric, the ancients, actually before the psychiatry came in, this was what they did. They cleared things like this, and they cleared them energetically. So we have that potential, but I go through when it's the group. And I'm going to say, is there a priority for Chi to uproot, to do this little process, uproot the altar of the mother's house? Is that, what I've been finding for the group is pretty much not a priority. This is more of an individual thing. When a person in the group needs extra energy, and I do this scan, very often I'll see they would like that clearing. So.
Can you tell me what you're actually saying?
Uprooting is just to get rid of it to the root source cause.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So let's see, do we want to uproot the altar of the father's house? So that's where we are. That's a priority. Now, first of all, remember the power of awareness. So we can just start with that and realize there might be something in the father's bloodline in reference even to the group that has related to some stress. Look at all the Pro Tools we wanted today. I don't think I've ever seen so many. So
wow,
is that wild? Or
that's a winner for sure. I mean, I've seen a lot too, but I've not seen that many.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
what are we contributing that to? Is something going on in the atmosphere or something that we need it on?
There are some that would say that. I'll tell you, the group took a ton of work over the weekend, and that we wanted, thank goodness we don't want it today. We wanted the charger scan with a 95% benefit, and a lot of the charges were in reference to the brain. So I don't know what to tell you, but we can go down this list. Remember, this is just information. And let's go to yes therapy for that.
I wonder if sugar would affect you that way.
I think that it's all probably related to our voltage, and sugar does lower voltage. So yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can also look at it from a positive vantage point as, we really are accreting more in our body. Our vessels are actually changing to become more crystalline. So I think there's some real strong purging that's happening. And some of the information I got was we really are doing a lot of ancestral work within our vessels as well. So, which is pertinent to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's worth considering, and it sounds pretty crazy. Now I have a huge prayer. what happened with me is I got this book. I was glad to get this book, and they have a prayer, and I really believe in the power of words typed in the SRC. So I looked at this, and then I typed the prayer, and it's a template prayer. For example, there's one about uprooting the altar of your father's house, but then if another time it comes up, say the altar of marital unfaithfulness, you just go back to the prayer, take this part out, and put this part in. It's just a template. But if anybody has hard feelings about Christianity, which many do, this prayer is going to turn them off, because this is a definite, to the root Christian prayer. It's all about Jesus. So what I'm going to do, like we did the other day, except I'll try it again. If you want that prayer, let me know, and I'll send it to you. It's quite a long prayer, and it's all typed out for you, and then just change the necessary verbiage. But, as we said the other day, a lot of what was taught in Christianity was totally inverted. So this may be why so many people are turned off now, but there may be some merit. The author, I can't think of this guy's name, the author of the book, but it turned out he was mentored by someone I had followed and was very impressed with, which was Dr. Miles Monroe. Monroe with a U, M-U-N-R-O-E. There are quite a few of his books on Scribed, and what he talked about was not this kind of thing, the altar thing. He talked about the keys to the kingdom, and it was very interesting to me personally. But anyway, so you go down, and now we were working on it this way with the, at this point, the yes therapy. Let's add crystals, vehicle, and home.
Cathy, a quick question about the Pro Tools selector.
Yes.
When I run that, I don't get all of the detail that shows up in your your selector. I just get, which tools to use, but not how many times to use.
Let me show you a valuable tip that Kevin taught me.
Okay.
Right click, right here, right click, and that gives you full client check, and then click. And that gives you all that extra.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Isn't that wonderful? There is so much, in here that most of us still don't even know about. But anyway, let's do crystals, vehicle, home. And when you see these things, go in here, for example, we have a pretty interesting home charge. I like to do the priority. Remember, the higher our chi, the less these other things impact us anyway. So let's just see, do we want the ES household cocktail? And you don't need to check the priority for chi, but since we're asking most of the time for a lot of energy, I'd like to be focused on it. But we don't need it. The Wonder Click or whatever part of this we do is probably going to handle that. Custom Shin and Gong. And down here, grab a void, which is always interesting, and then load preset cocktail. And the reason I'm not showing you the Excel spreadsheet on this is I screwed it up, and I can't get it. Let me see, a little, okay, there you go. That's as far as it went down to preset cocktail. And I just went ahead and pasted it. And so then also, here's our cocktails. And as you go down this list, we're looking for anything under 1,000. And so we get to general mind-attitude balance. That might be what's going on and why we're asking for so much energy today, is we've got a little bit of stress, on our mind. I don't know. I don't follow the news like I used to. So I don't know. Has anything happened out there other than them announcing a possible variant?
Let's just giggle when you ask that question.
What?
I said, let's just giggle when you ask that question.
All right. I love it. So let's do mind-attitude balance. Let me show you something, too, and I don't know if this is any of your computers or not, but I notice a lot of these, I have two. So when you have two of a cocktail or you have something you want to delete, there is just right-click and hit delete. I'm trying to get this all cleaned up. Come on. We'll do it in a minute. There we go.
Is there some kind of program that will delete duplicate stuff?
There may be, but I'm not familiar with it myself. And we've got people, places, situation. See, again, I've got, somehow I ended up with 2 in here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that.
I asked Kevin about the same thing, deleting duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue out on the extension, go find out what you're actually deleting, because it does matter.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, you're right. And here's relationships helper, which is really, that probably is, well, where is my relationships helper? That's probably the whole goal, as we all know in this group. It's not S, it's relationship helper. That's probably the whole goal, is unity. So we've got that. Now here's our grab-a-voy. And we go down to number 22, inspire peace. Those are all the zeros. So aversion to live, this is not too cool. Let's look at that. Could there be some just so discouraged, they're ready to be beamed on up? I don't know. We're de-stressing that pretty well. Balanced brain waves. We'll just see, since we're asking for so many Pro Tools, if any of these could be worked with.
Cathy?
Yes.
While you're working there,
Yes.
My problem, how I came to this SRC was radiation poisoning. So I have taught a class on what is radiation and what is poisoning us. So I have PowerPoint. I'm happy to share.
Oh, we would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see it, because it definitely is impacting our United States and Canada right now. There are kids that are starting to lose hair, and animals that are starting to lose hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah, we could
please.
even, Joanna can coordinate. Maybe you'd like to lead our Zoom one day, which would be wonderful, and show us that.
Yeah, you bet. I'd be happy to help.
Great. Okay, we'll get that lined up, because we do need that.
And keep in mind, too, as I'm doing recordings, I can split things up, like I did with that one video. So we can just focus on that, or anything, anything anybody wants to bring. I can split things up just to focus on that.
Yeah, this is a group with a lot of knowledge, those of you out there. So that's what we need to do. Thank you, Nancy.
I'd be interested.
Yes.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And something that's come up several times for me is, it's called AMA, Ask Me Anything. And if there's a day that Cathy would like to get together, or Kevin, or whoever wants to come on the call, where we just meet together like as a group and we just ask each other questions, I'm just going to put that out there.
That's fun. Yeah, we can do that anytime.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that as our Christmas party.
Oh my God.
That's a good idea. I love it.
That sounds like fun.
I could use any organizational helps, keeping track of clients and information. I'm using a notebook right now, so if there's any resource or tips or recorded sessions on that you guys could help me with, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, anybody out there?
There's a program out there called Calendarly and Book It Like a Boss. I like Book It Like a Boss because it's more proficient than Calendarly.
Is that on a chant?
No, it's a program. It's like an app, I guess. It's a website. If you go out and I think it's bookitlikeaboss.com. It's like a virtual assistant, so to speak.
Wow.
Thank you for that.
Okay, now we're back to our yes therapy in reference to the Father's House bloodline. We're at a 98. With the yes therapy, let's start that again. Because what is interesting, again, you may not choose to word it the way I've worded it, but there was a lot of esoteric information about generational, it refers to it here as a taproot. So that is why they often refer to it. I got this years ago, but they refer to this stuff as roots. And so let's just see.
What is in the name of? In the name of.
Yeah, that's what I do, and you can do it any way you want to. And here we're asking for wisdom. Well, usually you're going to take this and alter it any way you're comfortable.
By the way, Cathy, that video you sent the other day about that lady who had an NDE.
Mm-hmm.
That was very interesting to me.
Yeah, you see things like that, and for some reason that one was particularly interesting.
Because I've often wondered where do we go when we make our transition over.
Well, and Kevin had given the example of the woman that just as a child one day glanced at a little plant which had struggled through the concrete and sent it love without, just the heart of a child, and the impact it had on the galaxies. And she kind of touched on that also. It's the little things that we don't realize are most important and maybe assessed. And in her case, I think it was forgiveness.
Yes.
It was. I thought it was thought provoking. Anyway, I'm just going to go down up to number 22. I thought we might see some of these that would need some Pro Tool. What I have been doing with this, I'll put it in, and again, do it whatever way you choose. And I'll put it in, and if I get a 70 or higher, or if this number over here is 100 or higher. See, here's a little stress, in my opinion, with this 98. This is make way back to the light of God.
Have you done much work with the cell salts?
It's in our little RSV protocol, but no, I have not. Have you?
I mean, I've just heard it spoken about pretty deeply. There's somebody I listen to, and he's a huge believer in cell salts.
I think it may be something we need to cover.
Do you still have it where you could send it to Cathy?
I can see if I can find it because it's hard. He does 8 a month, so it's finding where he did it.
Yeah, send his name. That ought to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, his link, and then we can look it up.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, now you see, for example, this make way back to the light of God. There's a little stress with that one. So we didn't want the shin. We didn't want the charge. Let's see if we do the Tesla 3 times. Yeah, that'll put in 3 times. Some of this. All right, let's look at permanently prosperous, and which would involve a lot more than the 5 cents stuff. Let's just see how, as a group. Had a little stress there.
Just out of curiosity, when you go and check these out, are you hitting either the negative or good all the time?
Yeah, it varies. It varies. For the codes, I hit the good because they're healing codes. So no matter what the problem, the code is to balance it out.
Okay.
Of course, I sometimes have some misgivings about those codes based on some of the craziness I see with what people request and get. But I do know that everything in the universe is a number. And there do seem to be some good results. We're going to take a little charge for this permanently prosperous.
What was the top number in the action control? You just added it when the top number was 98, even though the now button was low. Can you review that, please?
Yeah, this is just me, and you may have your own way. But I look, if it's a 98 or a 99, I view that more as a chronic stress. But if it's 100 up to 102, I view that as the work we're doing, just dousing it in, is going to relieve some stress. But everybody will have their own. You know, you're kind of led. What happens as you do this work more and more, your intuition is going to guide you. And we'll all share those those thoughts that come our way. But that's what I have ended up doing. If it's a 98 or a 99, then I go in and I ask, I'll see, do we want a shin? Do we want a charge? Do we want the 3, 6, or 9? And if we don't want any of those, then I go into the Pro Tools. But that's just me, and that's subject to change.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's the thing, as we all know in here with this work, you can go any direction. And there we go. 6. And I look for something over 70. To me, it's like you're dropping in the pebble, and it starts to go. And so, okay, now we got a little stress related to insulin receptors. And again, at this moment in time, this is subtle energy dealing with our etheric blueprint. And that wouldn't be unusual after Thanksgiving if we were really living it up. So again, there's a little stress there, 98. You were still at a 98 on this father's house thing. Let's see. This is an interesting one. And again, there was a code for it. Reveal and put to an end the mistakes being made in hospitals in treating COVID-19. You are entitled to your own opinion, but this is what's been written about.
I go along with that.
Okay, a little stress there. Now we're waiting for that. Let's see what else we got here. We have our sustenance balancer. You can read vertebrae. You can see this is the yang side. Face. Look at some of the shins. Right side of body. Stomach. Vertebrae again. Lung meridians, and then over here the yin, we've got middle sanjiao, again more vertebrae information, arteries, triple heater, dermatome, vertebrae, brain, upper sanjiao, and knees. So let's just go ahead and let's balance that and come back. You can put any of this in the sustenance balancer if you ever choose to. And so, let's see, where am I? to see if that would be a good thing to put this in. Nah, not particularly. The 92% subtle energy related benefit of putting that in the shin. Take responsibility for own spiritual well-being. Transform all glyphosate to 528 hertz. Just go ahead and, while we're waiting, just do an auto on the Reiki. Now that one, again, it went up to the 102, but let's just see if we want to put that in the sustenance balancer. Yeah, we could use that. And I did do the scan as well, but I'll show you that in a second. As you see, we've got remove anger, mentioning the fatty acids, magnesium. So these are things that'll all go in as we go through the day. But you can also, some of these things, if I can get this down now. This is where I get in trouble, pulling some of these things up. Can't get them back down with the zoom going. Taking 1 minute. Your body is the image of unconditional love. And perhaps a little stress there. You see, today we did want the custom Shin and Mei Gong, so in other words, to add some things. Then a couple of things that are not necessarily coded, but we know the power of words. Accurately convert instincts into consciousness. A little stress there. Inching our way up with the yes therapy. Let's just look at acupuncture. Go ahead and do auto since we have so many of these today. What's the message? Whatever's wrong with me, kidneys, little weak energy blockages, whatever I need, blood cleansing, and the metal element, which would be lungs, intestines, and skin. And it could very well be that we're not trusting our instincts because of all the information out there that is so conflicting, just like on the vaccine. But again, look at the power of the Shin with that. And then finally, inspire peace. Okay, there you go. So if we look at what the WonderClick started us out with, and you can get that information here. We've been coming up a little bit more than usual with anti-aging. Again, all subtle energy, extremely proactive to do this kind of thing because you perhaps nipping something in the bud before it can manifest on the physical plane. And we all know in this group that we're not seeing what's going on. It's in our subtle bodies. Did we ask for, out of all of these, did we ask for emotions? We didn't. Isn't that interesting?
On that topic, I was reading through the Celestine Prophecy, and this was years back, and it goes back to keeping our energy high. And the more that we keep our energy high, the more it becomes like, in my verbiage, like a TV show. Like we watch it and we don't engage. We just watch it to maintain our energy and keep it high.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's look at emotional here in the prayer warrior. And with the prayer warrior is always going for us. I've always got 3 or 4 different panels for it. And you're seeing a lot of this kind of stress. Are you guys seeing this with the work you're doing with the SRC? A lot of spiritual stress?
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're taking 23 hours here just in reference to emotional stress. Come on, get down there. There we go.
Cathy, may I ask a random question?
Oh, definitely.
So, sometimes when I use the Pro Tools selector for a particular issue, let's say it's a digestive issue, and it will recommend the field Pro Tool, or I can't remember what the proper name is. And I can't imagine how I would use that for a digestive issue.
I totally agree. I don't know why that is either. And so what I do is I just go in there and I do that little priority for chi thing. But there may be something, with it that we're not getting, but I totally agree. For example, go ahead.
I think the field tool as mainly, your surroundings. Is that a reasonable idea?
It is to me. It is to me. Yeah, and I totally agree with that. A lot of times I don't do the Pro Tool thing. I'll go in and check each one. Okay, we just cleared any of this stress related to the Father's house. Now these kind of things will come up once in a while because they're subtle, and you can go in and work with any of the Pro Tools, or if you choose to work with that prayer, shoot me an email and I will send it to you. But here's anticipates failure, and we requested the timeline. Let's just go in there. Let that go. That's something you can go back and forth to. And while we're at it, we're still going back and forth. I'm trying not to hammer it. Activate cosmic and electrical energies to align with the power of God. And we are now down to a 5. I'm just kind of wondering if this takes us through some levels of consciousness or layers, however you want to put it. But anyway, some of these timeline mediator, if you're using it that way, you may not want to hammer it. You might want to do it a little bit and then go back and forth. A little stress related to pH. Let's just get some information on that. It'd be a negative thing. Although, in a sense, there really are no negatives because we learn. Even some of the crazy things happening in our world could be opening some doors for us to go up in consciousness. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Let's just go into the recharger and balance pH. I know I have a friend who's had terrible dental problems because of acidity, and it's the soft drinks she's drinking. But we're only taking a few minutes here, but we can do it. Another one you can do, just if you are so inclined, just go in every now and then and balance the nervous system. And see how we're looking. Doesn't have to appear. 9 hours can't hurt.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And what I do, I want to stay spiritual, and I want to stay focused on helping healing people, and I want to stay focused in that realm, we'll just say. But then there's the realm where we're here on earth, so we have to basically put food on our table. So now on the opposite end of the spectrum, in having to put food on my table, I come into issues where, you know, it's the what your like people paying for your services and stuff like that. So where I did a job for someone, and he's because of his own issues, it has come to me to where now do I stand up for myself, and where he needs to honor his obligation, or do I just let it go?
Anybody? Hard to say, Joanna.
Well, I think we have to honor ourselves for what we're doing. And so, you know, there's supposed to be some kind of exchange when we do things for people. So if there's some other way that they can exchange with you, if it's a monetary problem.
This MIT professor that I took a class from, he used to compose music, and then he transferred that into business models, what it took for him to compose music. And he used to talk about doing a value table where you write down 2 different things and decide which of those 2. First of all, you write down a list of what you value in a business relationship. Then he would take 2 of those and decide which one was stronger, and then delete the other one, and keep working till you get down and eliminate to what you most value in this business relationship, and what you're, you know, and definitely, you know, financial security needs is very important. And it's very helpful to narrow down to what is most important to you within that, and for taking care of yourself. Very telling.
Yeah, and Joanna, go, sorry.
No, Cathy, you go, and then I'll go.
Well, I was just going to say real quickly, we had done, one of the stresses that came up in the group was confusion. And I tested that for both a negative and a positive thing. So it may be a positive thing, that you're at this point confused about this, because I will tell y'all right now, Joanna does a ton of work for no compensation for many people. And maybe it's time to get some thoughts on that.
Well, one thing I'll share is I have been on the receiving end of grace so many times that it has just had an incredible impact on my just on my whole nature. So while I agree there needs to be an energy exchange, I think every situation is unique, and I'm just grateful for all of the experiences of grace that I've had.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you really get into the matrix, you know the potential is there for our needs to be met.
And I love that because going through a divorce and something that happened here recently, it was completely spiritual, divine intervention that has saved my butt, so to speak. So, I try not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but now I'm like really at a crossroads. Do I choose the spiritual side of it, or do I choose the material side of it?
Well, can it be both?
That means I would have to give up and like kind of surrender, and then let, like Elizabeth said, grace take over,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I want to show you too our words to ponder. First, get your facts, then you can distort them at your leisure. That might be a word of wisdom I don't know, but again, in that post that's up on the site about our thoughts, the fact there are no original thoughts, they're all coming in from various levels. And what do we really know? It's rather interesting to think about that.
I'd like to make a suggestion that you go into the SRC data and type in various words like abundance, prosperity, wealth.
Yeah.
And pick through that and see what resonates with you.
Yeah.
You may have an abundance block of some kind that prevents you from recognizing your own self-worth.
I think Steve is right. That's 100%. And we have, maybe tomorrow we'll look at some of these abundance cocktails we have in here. And you definitely, for here's one that's interesting. Let's just look at it for the group.
I just listened to one of the most successful coaches that's out there, and when he first went out to do his work, he wanted to charge $20, and the person that he was going in the auspices under said no, and he goes, oh, 15, and he goes, no, 100.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, people believe the more expensive something is, the better it is. I keep my prices low so more can do it. And I've had a lot of criticism for that. So, but I would rather, of course, in a perfect world, in my book, everybody would have their own software. And maybe we'll see more of that coming up. But this is another perhaps big one, stress related to deservability. And this could actually be a bloodline thing. So let's just see. That's rather interesting. You could put that in we're filling out the issue solver, and I'll do this later. We don't need to, And let's also see if the Gong is appropriate.
Cathy.
Yeah.
I appreciate that when you said that about the prices and stuff for working forces and stuff, because a lot of these places that I have taken courses in, they've raised their prices so high, and if you're trying to help many people around the world, not everybody can put out like $600, $700, or $800 for a course.
That's how I feel. That's how I personally feel. But there will be those who say that you are hurting people by presuming they can't put that out. So you'll have some other ideas on that. But that's how I personally feel.
Yeah, I know. I got into a big argument many years ago when I was working in hypnotherapy out in San Diego, and I was charging like maybe $35 or $40 for a session. So a bunch of other hypnotherapists got a hold of me and said, "You know what? You're not charging enough." And I said, "Don't tell me that. I'll charge what I want to charge, and I charge the amount that people can afford. You know, when you all start charging $100 and $150 and all that stuff, that's on you."
Well, you know, and we have a lot of work to do. Just even back to this tangent I seem to be on about the power of our thoughts. In order to really tune in to the higher vibratory thoughts, many of us, we have trauma to clear, we have childhood issues, karma, etc., etc., and it may take a lot of inner work. And, you know, we need to work together, to me anyway, to help each other as much as possible in this kind of thing.
I agree.
So anyway, we're putting this, look at this just as an example here, why I like to test these things. It would have only been a 1% benefit to just slam that stress related to deservability in the Gong. That wasn't necessarily our best way to go. So just play with this a little bit. Follow your own intuition. We're asking for a wonder click. Now let's just go into the auto here. I didn't really put anything specifically in. Trying to sit and watch through this each time now, because otherwise I move on and forget it. So just sitting here staring at it, it's focusing. We are doing, again, relationships seems to be a theme today, complete spiritual burn down session and clear imposed belief structures. So with that in mind, it looks like we're done for today. And anything to add?
Very good, Cathy. Thank you.
That's so helpful. Thank you
guys
very much,
okay.
Cathy.
I'll see you
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Cathy.
Cathy.
Includes the SRC4u Zoom call. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Until then, take care and be well.